We are excited to be launching our next podcast series, which is interviewing Golden Hoodie winners from around the world who've got amazing trailblazer stories. A Golden Hoodie winner is somebody that Salesforce has recognised as being a true trailblazer, somebody who gives back but also is an expert in their domain. And we can't wait to share these stories with you. Tune in, listen, and be inspired at these amazing stories and give them kudos on social media for everything they've done. And what I would recommend is definitely tune in and follow in their footsteps. Enjoy, and we look forward to getting your feedback.
If your leadership team is pushing you to deploy Agentforce yesterday, you already know the real challenge isn't the AI itself. It's the environment you're building it on. To orchestrate autonomous workflows, you need to feed your agents deep, flawless context about your metadata and business processes. That's why Hubble created the intelligence layer. We give you total operational clarity, telling you exactly how to clean up and structure your org so your AI actually works. Stop guessing. Build Agentforce with absolute confidence at hubble.com.
So, hi everyone, welcome to this week's Mums on Cloud9 podcast. We're delighted to have you here. We are continuing our series talking to Golden Hoodie winners around the world. And I'm very excited to have Ben with us today. Welcome, Ben, to the show. It's a delight to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, well, you're a big advocate and champion of the Marketing Cloud community, and that's one of the reasons why Gilda, you said, nominated you for a Golden Hoodie nomination, which is amazing. And you were awarded it in 2021 at one of the
Yes.
Dreamforce conferences, which was awesome. So you want to share with everybody a bit of your backstory there, like what were you doing before that led up to this great sort of opportunity?
Sure. This was back in 2021, still kind of in the thick of the COVID and all that. It all kind of started because I decided that I wanted to start a community group specifically for what was then called Pardot. It's now called Account Engagement. And I created a community group that was specifically for where I live, which is in the Tampa Bay area in Florida. And I literally tried to have my first meeting the week that COVID kicked off. And so I had to cancel it. I had to cancel the in-person one. And from that point on, it was all virtual. So I had started kind of building an audience of people who were attending these meetings. I tried to have them at least once a month. And I started noticing that I was getting a bit of traction with these meetings. And I was getting people who were joining from all over the country and all over the world. And similarly, I was noticing that there were other community groups in other parts of the world that were not as successful. And as I was learning more and kind of getting more experience, I decided that I felt like I wanted to try and see if there's a way to support them. And so I kind of had this idea of trying to bring together community group leaders for Marketing Cloud and Marketing Cloud Account Engagement or Pardot globally to try and build this kind of resource where we can all kind of talk about our experiences and share advice and share material and so on. And so initially what I decided to do was create what was running myself, just have myself really kind of trying to handle effectively 3 meetings with community group leaders for Marketing Cloud and Account Engagement globally. And obviously that was hard because you have a lot of time zones and you have a lot of people that you're trying to manage, and it went okay, but not great. But I was able to successfully pull 3 meetings off covering the US, like the North, South America, Western Europe, and parts of Africa. And then do another one that was more Eastern Europe. It was just kind of just rolling with as the sun goes. And the second time I did it, I was like, well, let's see if I can bring more people involved who have a lot of passion for the community. And so I was able to enlist now I believe they're all MVPs, a woman named JB, who is very, very active. She's prolific even with the Marketing Cloud content and community she develops. And she was in India. And then I reached out to another guy. He's in Southeast Asia, guy named Shigu, who is, I believe, also an MVP and marketing champion. And so the 3 of us got together on a call and how would this work? And we did a few meetings where I would cover a certain part of the world, if you will. And then JB would schedule her meetings with in her time zone and time zones that made sense for her and people that would potentially attend those meetings. And then similarly, you would do like Australasia, Southeast Asia, things of that nature, like where the time zones made a lot of sense for them. And it ended up being a pretty big undertaking trying to kind of facilitate all of this global activity while also having a full-time job and a personal life and all those things. But we were able to get a few meetings off. We were able to get it to happen a few times. We didn't have enough momentum to like really keep it going, because that's really, really hard to keep going. But we were able to connect some Marketing Cloud accounts, Marketing Cloud community group leaders with each other globally in a way that maybe they weren't able to on like Slack or whatever, and trying to just pull and out, because that was all the whole purpose, was still trying to bring all these like-minded people who have a passion for the community and wanted to share and build community around this, and where they're in their country or in their city. But they needed more support, because Salesforce does provide increasingly more support to community group leaders. But a few years ago, it wasn't quite like that. It's gotten better, but you would hear a lot from community group leaders who they would have all the excitement, and then they would get the group and not really know what to do with it, and how to promote it, how to find speakers, and how to find content. And so I was trying to answer that need and kind of help cultivate the community, kind of get some more momentum around it. And we were able to have a few meetings, like I said, and it went reasonably well, but we did achieve the larger goal of kind of bringing kind of that community closer together and develop perhaps some friendships. But throughout all of that effort, Gilda from Salesforce became aware of that effort, and she decided to nominate me internally at Salesforce for the Golden Hoodie, which I was given on stage at the Marketing Cloud keynote at Dreamforce in 20.
That's amazing. I think you've gone over and above, like you say, full-time job, which we'll come on to in a moment. Like, what do you do day to day? But, I think exactly that's what the Golden Hoodies are there for, to recognize people that go above and beyond. You're not just set up your own user group, but you're sharing best practice with other people. And I think it's so important, there's all these people that want to help others, but don't necessarily know how to do it. And if nobody shows up, or the user groups don't go quite your way, it can be very easy for people to go, oh, I'm rubbish at that, or it didn't go. And actually sharing ideas at that level is so important in order to mobilize, catalyze, and make them all a success in one way or another. And as you say, meeting people face to face virtually, even if it's not in person, helps build those relationships when you're just chatting on Slack, because you've had that interaction. So, hats off to you. Thank you so much, Ben, for just putting yourself out there, particularly during COVID, when it was like, stressful time for everybody as well. They're all just figuring out everything. So you're an expert at Pardot Marketing Cloud. Tell us more, like, how did you even get into Salesforce and sort of get to this point that you're, running the user groups, you've run a blog, you help with Florida Dreaming, you do a lot.
Yeah. So I'll try and give you like the abridged version, I guess, of that story. Is I kind of got into first the Salesforce world, specifically what was then Pardot, kind of accidentally. It was, as with a lot of people who kind of get jobs and then suddenly they have a tool that you now own, that you need to learn. With this, my original kind of career history started with a focus on social media marketing. I went to grad school in London at City University, and this was at the time when social media, specifically Twitter, was really starting to kick off. This is in 08, 09. And so it was really starting to kick off, and specifically companies started to see the business value of that. And so me being kind of an early adopter on those kind of things, and having been blogging previously for years and having this kind of internet knowledge, if you will, of that, I was able to kind of find my way into a small agency while I was in grad school in London, and started doing social media marketing, and then built on that career from there when I came back to the US, and then decided I didn't really want to be so pigeonholed. So I started saying, I want to broaden my horizons and be a little more traditional digital marketing. So I ended up finding a job that was social and other things. And that job just happened to be wanting to look at marketing automation. This was again when marketing automation really started. This was in 2010, 2011, 2012. This was that area where it was like, suddenly everyone was wanting to do marketing automation, and I was asked to evaluate software. So I looked at like Pardot, HubSpot, Marketo, maybe even Eloqua. And I think at the moment, and I found that I liked Pardot the most. So they were like, all right, let's do Pardot. But this is when you could do Pardot without having to have Salesforce. So it was just literally a standalone marketing automation tool that had no relationship to Salesforce at all. You could literally just log into it using any box. And I got really good at it. And learned, I was self-taught with that's actually some support from a partner at the time who was, because like when you buy from Salesforce, they will obviously set you up with partner. And so I had a partner who gave me some initial training. And then from there, I just kind of learned the platform. I kind of did it for a while and didn't realize what I had. Like I saw it as just a job, just a thing. And I was like, well, I don't want to do this job anymore. So I left, I stopped doing it. I was like, I didn't realize, I didn't see the wave on the horizon that was coming for that role and that specialty. And so I pivoted away from that. And then eventually, fast forward, I kind of was like, I started seeing the wave. I'm like, oh, this wave is coming. Salesforce is a real thing. Accounting, like
Get your surfboard
mar-
back.
yeah, market automation is like it. By this point, it become a very big deal. And so market automation, and I was like, well, I already have a skill set in this. I've done this already. So if I can claw my way back into this, then I would be in a really good situation. And so that's literally what I did. I searched for jobs that specifically were looking for people that had skills with Pardot. So I'm like, well, I've already done it. It's been a couple of years, but I can certainly get back into it. And I was able to find one, and it ended up being with a fairly large company, and I was able to learn a lot. And then from there, I was like, all right, this is what I do now. This is you kind of make that decision. You're like, you kind of see the opportunity in front of you, and you're like, this is my career now. I like it enough where I want to do it a lot. I feel like I'm good at it. And I'm finding a passion for specifically email marketing in the B2B space. It was something that I understood, that made sense to me. And I felt like I had kind of accumulated experience in lead gen, lead qualification, demand gen, in other roles that I was able to plug into this. And I found that a lot of companies needed that kind of help in kind of translating it through the technology. So at that point, I was like, this is what I do. So I was doing that internally for a couple of years, learned a lot, decided didn't want to drive anymore to work. So I started entertaining Salesforce partners and got my first job as a Pardot consultant with a partner. And that was in 2019. So from 2019 to today, it's been just fully working for partners up until very recently, as of November-ish of 2025, when I decided to go full-time freelance. And now I support several different clients with their Marketing Cloud account engagement, Sales Cloud, and then also Marketing Cloud Next needs in whatever capacity, whether it's in implementation or strategy, because I kind of live in this world where I know the technology really well, but I also am very passionate and experienced with traditional lead gen, lead nurture, marketing operations, campaign execution, kind of live in both worlds equally. And so I'm able to support and advise in both the technical implementation of it, but also the strategy behind it and the best practices behind it. And so I've found that I really enjoy that. And it's been what I've started doing, and I've been going very well. Like I've been able to develop a lot of really good relationships with people and with clients, and it's been very good. It's been very rewarding, which is not always the case when you decide to go full-time freelance on your own. It can sometimes not go well, and I'm fortunate that so far it's gone well.
Right. That's good to know. And I think, genuinely, when you talk, Ben, and you talk about what you're doing at the moment, your face lights up. We can really see the passion in what you're doing. So I think, from me hearing what you're saying, I think not only your passion to do what you do, but your passion to support and share your knowledge with everyone else is it's just so great to see. And I think, the fact that you've been building communities, you've been supporting other people, you've been helping other people, I think, that really is a testament to yourself. I think it's what makes you relatable, I would say to the audience, that would be that you've got so many pivotal moments throughout your career? You know, you mentioned 2019, you mentioned getting your golden hoodie in 2021, I think you said, and now you're going on a different journey where you're working in your own space. It'd be great to know what particularly was one of them light bulb moments when you went, right, this is a massive change for me. You know, there have been chapters within your book, if you like, but what's the main one that stands out to you?
A funny, I kind of have like when there are things that happen, you kind of get this moment where somewhere everything clicks. We have like for me, like it's been different things where I'm like, oh my God, this is like I've never connected with something like this before. And you feel kind of, I don't know, like everything is in slow motion and you're like, oh man, this is like legit. Like this is something important. And really, I think the moment that I don't know if it was a moment when honestly, yeah, it was a moment when I realized that I actually really like email marketing, which sounds really geeky and boring, but I was working somewhere and I honestly, I was mostly just doing social and SEO. I was like, my whole thing was like Google and social and things of that nature. I was there was also a little window in my career where I was hyper focused on SEO and SEM and things like that. And so I learned a lot, which is cool, but there was a part of the business that they were doing that was email marketing. And I was like, I was able to like, I would like collate reports and stuff for email marketing. And I was like, and I would say, I'm curious, what are we actually sending these people? So I would look at them and I'm like, this is terrible. Like, what is happening here? And then I'd be like, I remember I found myself saying, can I like sit in on these email meetings and help me understand? And I kind of the more I started to learn, the more I started to kind of find that I really liked email marketing. Like it was just something that really clicked with me. And I was like, I found it was rekindling what that moment was like a rekindling of my earlier moment before when I first kind of accidentally fell into the email marketing stuff. And it was a reminder. It was like, oh wait, I'd actually really like this. This is a kind of more experienced me now being like, oh, this was a thing that I didn't realize I liked as much as I did in the moment, but then believing it, doing other things, and then coming back to it and seeing it and recognizing that I have a lot of thoughts about this. Like, and getting told no, that's not your world. You don't do that. I don't want it to be my world though. I kind of want to like that. I would really like to be able to, and the more I got told no about that, I was like, I think I need to do that. I think that's the thing I think I want to do. So you have them. Yeah. You kind of realize like, I don't know. I think that's really cool. I kind of like that. And remembering that what I used to do, and I was like, man, I kind of want to go back to that. That was a lot of fun. And then I learned more about the like world, like how the world had changed in those couple of years and kind of how big the role of like marketing automation manager or specialist had become in that time. I was like, well, I already got a built-in skill set. I can totally like, you have those like, suddenly all the stars start, I mean, it's very, very cliche, but something you're like, oh man, I already did this and I know how to do this and I like to do it. I think I know what I'm going to do now. And you just have that moment where, but then the validating moment of doing it professionally again and then with intention. Because before it really wasn't, it was like, this is just my job. This is what I do. I'm learning the platform. But when you're doing it with intention and you're working with people to execute on these like large campaigns and you're working in Salesforce. Because now I'm working in Salesforce and I'm like now actually seeing the end-to-end side of it. You kind of start to, and you just get, I don't know, something kind of clicks. You're like, I understand this in a way that I feel like a lot of the other people in my office don't. This makes sense to me in a way that they don't. I find myself having to explain it to them. Like, here is why this works. Like, and then I became this kind of the marketing team Salesforce product owner, despite not having a much Salesforce experience. I just understood it in a marketing context. Like wasn't a Sales Cloud consultant. I didn't know the inner workings of the platform, but I knew enough in a marketing context to be able to speak about it semi-authoritatively. And
I think
yeah.
and I think, when you say knowledge is power, I mean, how true is that statement? Because you get the knowledge, you then have the power, and then you just want to learn more and just keep knowing more, don't you? So I think, that absolutely comes across from you. Your passion is the reason that you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I find it's one of those things where you don't realize how passionate you are about something until you start talking about it and feel yourself get excited about it. You're like, oh man, I'm a massive nerd. Holy moly. Like you don't even realize that like how geeky you feel when you're talking about doing like helping people with a lead nurture journey. Like I have a client where I'm helping them, a company that is very large, who should have a lot more in place than they do, succeeded in spite of that. You see that the more I see that,
quite often.
Oh my God, you're like, how are we this far ahead? Like how are you here without any of this? And you're like, all right, well, I guess we'll start now, I suppose. And figuring out, helping them like do like work on trade show stuff. Like when you go to a trade show, you get the lead, like you have to walk through, like you get the list, you put it in here, you send series of emails over a period of time with the goal of you have to like walk them through like the end user journey, the sales hand, all these things that they just like, they don't think about. And you're like, well, I've apparently done enough now that I know it and I can help them. And it's like, and that becomes very valuable, is having someone who can like really clearly explain the end-to-end part of it is what I really enjoy. And I mean, like I said, I do a lot with Marketing Cloud account engagement, but we're in the new world order of Marketing Cloud next. And so I've got a couple clients I work with in that capacity, but I also work with HubSpot. I've got experience with HubSpot, and that's something that's becoming more popular and hearing more about. And I've worked with clients in the past on it, so I know it reasonably well, but they're all kind of flavors of each other, just more or less the same. Marketing Cloud, SFMC, Exact Target is a whole different world that I played in, but is not my world. I found that SFMC Exact Target is definitely a B2C platform, and that's not my area of comfort, I guess you could say. It's not. Go ahead.
One of the questions we get asked a lot by Marketing Cloud students that come through the Supermoms program is, do they need to have Salesforce admin as well? So have you dabbled on Salesforce admin? Did you get those skills as well in your?
I did. So I realized, especially with Marketing Cloud account engagements, Pardot, whatever, this was what feels like now ages ago, but it was like just 2 years ago, where it was 2 or 3 years ago, where it was increasingly any jobs that you were looking for, any jobs that were looking for Pardot, they were also needing that person to have a reasonable amount of experience on Salesforce. Not necessarily being the admin per se, but it really depended on the size of the company. But if you, as a Marketing Cloud account engagement and a consultant, manager, whatever you want to call it, while you will be working in Pardot a lot, like for example, all the reporting lives in Salesforce now. Like all the reporting that you want to do and all the things that you do post-marketing with lead assignments and all these different elements are in Salesforce. So it became very clear to me that if you want to focus on account engagement, B2B, whatever, you really, truly need to have a healthy amount of understanding of how the Sales Cloud or Salesforce platform works. So I went and studied for the admin exam. I failed it like 3 times. Yeah, admin exam is hard. Like if you don't live in that world, because like I thought I was very cocky and I was like, well, I mean, I'm in Salesforce every day, hours every day. And I'm like only in like the marketing slice of it, like campaigns and leads and contact. I didn't have to touch 90% of what Salesforce actually is. And so I failed horribly the first time. And then it's one of those things where, because at the time this was when I was working for a company and I had to drive to work. And so there were all these different like admin tutorial classes that existed. And so I would literally just in the morning drive to work and just have it playing in my car, just listening to them talking about objects and the relationship. And just to have the kind of familiarity, because I wasn't necessarily reading, but I was just listening and hearing them.
To see it though, visual, like
it's hard not to see it. Like but your mind can sometimes make kind of connections when you hear them talk about things and then you read paper, you're like, oh yeah, I heard that on the there. It becomes it makes it a little easier to kind of learn it and remember it because you're hearing it in the car or you're on like the tube or whatever. You hear it. It's not the most compelling thing in the world, I will tell you that. But you are forced exposure to these things over and over and over again to kind of really grasp the concepts in addition to what you're doing when you're not in the car or when you're not traveling. And I mean, it was a huge accomplishment when I was able to pass the admin exam.
Oh, well done.
Me, oh
Congratulations.
man, thank you. It was years ago, but it took me, it was a lot. It was a lot. And then the Sales Cloud exam was hard too. Took the Sales Cloud consultant exam.
Ooh,
Man, that's a
hard.
whole different world as well.
Yeah, I
than the
failed that
admin exam.
one. Yeah, I failed that one.
Then I failed admin 3 times, Sales Cloud at least
Oh.
twice. And I'm like, it's just so hard because you're coming at it from a totally different way. You're not managing it. You're not like the Sales Cloud stuff is very sales centric, obviously. So it's building territory management and what it does and doesn't do and queues, blah, blah, blah. And so you're just like, I never had to think about this stuff as a marketer.
Yeah, to be
You have
building,
to like
yeah.
totally come at it from a totally different angle. And it was very hard,
Mm.
but I'm really glad I did it because while I'm not an architect or a developer, I'm pretty well versed in and how Salesforce CRM works and what it does and doesn't do. And so for people who come through the platform to the program, what I would tell them is everything kind of emanates from the core. So if you want to say, I want to learn Experience Cloud, I want to become an Experience Cloud specialist, let's say, cool. But you also are going to need to know foundationally, like how the CRM work. If you don't want to do Sales Cloud consultant, that's fine. But I would encourage as many people as possible to whatever you want to specialize in. If you don't feel up to the admin exam, I think there's different versions now that are slightly lower than the admin exam, but knowing as much as you can about the core platform will help you tremendously because of the sheer amount of overlap between whatever cloud you want to work in, nonprofit, financial services, all of the vertical clouds, they all ultimately roll through the core. So knowing the core will always help. It's not going to be I spent time learning the core and now that's not helping me. That'll never be the case. You'll have all this foundational knowledge and how the core works and how the CRM works to be able to probably understand the other cloud better, understand how they operate and understand like object-oriented relationships and what reports do and don't do and how users work and the privacy and the access layers and all these things that are part of the admin exam that you would benefit significantly from by just knowing in addition to whatever cloud, let's say you want to specialize in.
Yeah, no, great advice. So that's what we advocate, is get your admin and then progress into whichever one you go down. And I think echoing what you said about, Sales Cloud, for me, it was building it. Don't just take the exam and learn it parrot fashion. If you build it out and you understand all those, it makes it easier to pass the exam when you've got your heads around it. I think that was my barrier initially. I wasn't using all that functionality. So, getting your hands dirty with it, building out demos is something that we're really focusing on. And how do you see AI shaping things now, Ben? Where do you see AI impacting what you're doing or where you intend to go with your career next?
Yeah. So AI is kind of I don't know. I've been a little bit of I want to say curmudgeon, but like I get it. I understand it. I understand the value. I'm just a little kind of tired out by it, exhausted a bit by it.
Already.
And, oh my God. It's just cause and I think maybe the thing that I saw, I don't know where it was. I saw something on LinkedIn. It was like AI is making for marketing specifically is increasing the speed of execution, but also lowering the quality of the material of what you're doing. And it's one of those things you could have it easy, fast, or cheap. Like you can only pick two. Easy and fast, but it's not going to be cheap. Easy and cheap, but it's not going to be fast. Like those are the only things that you got to pick two of the three, and it'll never be all three. And I think there's also there are I don't know, this might be a hot take, but I'm like, and this may be just specific to my kind of little window of the ecosystem and the clients that I work with. I encounter interest or conversations about Agentforce, AI, or et cetera, with my clients very rarely. There are large companies, like massive enterprises that are like efficiencies galore, blah, blah, blah. But for the more kind of mid-market, kind of B2B specifically companies that have just transparently significant data quality problems, they're not even beginning to sniff what AI is or is, because they've got so many problems that they have to deal with. AI isn't going to make their data better. If their Sales Cloud data quality, if they've got missing data, if they've got incomplete account records, if they have like massive amount of duplication, if they have opportunities that don't have a lot of information on them, if they do things where, like, for example, I see this all the time. Reps will only create an opportunity when it's about to close. They won't create it beforehand. So from a machine learning perspective, there's nothing, you're significantly diminishing your ability to use those like historical trends to say, oh, based on what we see here, you're basically some on the scale, because everything closes. If an opportunity gets created, it always closes. So that doesn't help at all when it comes to trying to do like forecasting and like on historically what we've seen here. So like there's all these weird little process things that, well, if process, data quality, whatever, that is problematic for them. And a lot of them are just trying to figure out how to fix that before they're like saying, oh yeah, no, AI is like going to be the thing. And I need to figure out how to make AI work for me. It's like, I'm sorry to tell you, but like your data is horrible. Like I've gone in and I'm like, you can't even build like a legitimate lead report in Salesforce. Like because you're like, you can't trust it. If you can't trust your reports, I mean, it's going to be very difficult to like, because AI, this might even be an old take at this point, but AI largely relies on data, existing data consistency, data quality. And if your existing data is untrustworthy or not, if it's just not reliable, what are you're expecting AI to, whatever AI tool you're using, to amplify effectively bad data, unreliable data, saying, oh, well, because we have this AI, we're using this AI tool that's going to give us the kind of cut through the low quality opportunities or leads to show us the ones that are good. And I'm like, well, cool, but there's no like the actual effort of actual lead conversion. Reps don't always convert leads. They just create new contacts. Things like little things like that. But if you don't convert the lead to a contact, there's no way to be able to, for machine learning to be like, oh, let's look at the attributes of that lead conversion. It just doesn't exist. It just suddenly exists as a contact. And there's no way to be like, oh, well, historically leads converted to contacts, but if there were no converted contacts, what do you have? There's nothing. Like, it's weird little process things, data quality things that make it hard for a lot of companies to be able to actively embrace it. And I mean, Salesforce is doing what they do. They're very proactive and doing outreach to these companies saying, hey, we've got Agentforce. We can do this, we can do that. And there are things on the marketing side where it's effective, where if you want to, and I've seen it, it's very cool with like Data Cloud, for example. When you tell data, when you say, what kind of segment do you want to build? You just type it in there and it just generates the segment. That's great. That's super useful. Again, provided the data that's going into Data Cloud is complete and accurate and all that. But from a generative perspective, if you tell Data Cloud, there's a learning curve with Data Cloud, especially trying to build segments. You got to figure out how the data relationships work and then it takes time. But if you can just say, I would like a segment of leads that were converted in the last X number of days and are in this industry, it'll just create it for you. The little agent thingy on the side will just create it for you. That's super useful. And content generation that exists that is also really useful. Help me create an email that is targeted towards this audience that is this kind of tone, and it'll generate the content for you. Those are the little things that are useful. It's just not a universal thing. And it's going to take a lot of companies a while to get to a place where they're like, can use it and at least from a data perspective, and make the most of it. It's little wins here and there is what I'm seeing it as. Like this, you're in an okay enough space where this is reliable. You can create new content using AI. You can put in a prompt and it'll generate email copy.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tweak the email copy. Those things are great, but it's that mid-market area, the smaller mid-sized B2Bs, it's going to be an uphill climb because they've got a lot of historical issues with their data, with their processes that have to be, if not fully solved, then definitely more progress made on solving before they can say, yeah, I'm plug in an agent to do this. And then you have to figure out, trying to tell people that like, oh yeah, now you got to figure out, you got to go into your agent, you got to write all of the prompt responses, the likely responses, and they're going to look at you like you're crazy. They'll be like, what do you mean? Right? It's just, I don't know. Hot take again. Salesforce will sometimes make things seem easier than they actually are.
A lot of work for the admins to do. There's still a role for the admins. So on the foundations first, then you can get to the agent.
Exactly. That would be a thing where if you did have a client who was interested in the AI stuff and you were reasonably familiar with it, you could certainly come in and say, hey, I can help build your prompts for you. Here's how this would work. Here's what the prompt builder is. And so there's a lot of need for people who have those skills if you have a client that's looking to do that.
Awesome.
I think it's important as well especially with marketing. A lot of people use ChatGPT, as we know, for all sorts of different things we spoke about before. But with marketing specifically, it's that wraparound, isn't it? The prompt has to be correct. And then what you get out of it, you need to be able to edit so that it comes out correct. So it's not just the AI, it's the start and the finish as well. So I think it's important to make sure that it's used properly when it's used.
Yes, exactly. It's figuring out how prompts work. People don't realize they've been prompting for years. Like when you put in a Google search, it's effectively a prompt. It's just tailoring your prompts to your data, to what you have, hoping that the system knows what you are trying to ask it, making sure you have the prompts, the back end of the prompt set up to receive that information and know what to do with it. There's just a lot there. But if you have a company that is ready for it, it can be kind of game changing. But there's just a lot there's many, many, many that have a lot of foundational problems that are not ready, that they have to solve those before they can think about dipping their toe in the agent force world. And they can instead find small wins on the marketing side, at least, with using generative AI to generate email copy, landing page copy, things of that nature. Those are things that are doable, that don't have such a heavy reliance on data quality, where you can demonstrate, yeah, we're using AI, we're using the generative AI to build this email. And it took us a fraction of the amount of time to do that because we asked the system to write it, and then we just tinkered with it and we were ready to go. Like those are wins that clients for those that are not quite ready, but have more latitude with marketing, those are wins that I think are realistic.
Yeah. Great insight. Thank you, Ben. As I say, Lynn said you're super passionate about all this area, and the insight in your journey and what you're doing now is great. It's great that you've worked with some great brand names. So please do check Ben out on LinkedIn. He's worked at various renowned companies, and it's great that you made that pivot as well. And you're freelance. I'll be looking at Ben to help with our Pardot.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely happy to help.
Definitely got some work to do that.
Yeah, I try to kind of live in this part of the freelance world where, having worked at partners for a while, and kind of understanding how it works, there's a significant number of companies that need expertise, but are not necessarily able or willing to sign up for 12 months at very high rates. They are more able to handle a 6 months engagement at 20 hours a month or 15 hours a month. at a rate that is more reasonable, while still it's a rate that they can make work. And I found success in that. So that's kind of where I'm trying to be a support valve to companies that need help, but are not necessarily a prospect for a larger agency.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of need there.
We believe the same, exactly. I mean, I run a consultancy, and the thing is, consultancies, definitely have their place for implementation. But for smaller companies that need the ongoing support and maintenance, having a freelancer like yourself, like we provide at Supermums, we provide freelance contractors out to clients as well. It's more cost-effective resource for day-to-day management and development of the system, isn't it, really? So there's definitely those benefits. And it's great that you're in that space now as well, because I think people need them. As you say, you can sit there with systems half-baked.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I always say somebody's got to be looking after the baby internally,
Absolutely.
and sort of learning how
Absolutely.
to support it and develop it. And nobody gives you those instructions at the beginning. So thank you so much for being with us today and sharing everything and your story. Thank you for everything you've done. We didn't even talk about Florida Dreaming and the blog that you've got. So we'll put all those things in the show note, because you do so much. And
Yeah,
it's been really lovely meeting you virtually, and hopefully we'll meet you in person at the next Salesforce event very soon.
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun. It's been great to chat with you. And yeah, we'll see each other soon. Feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn. And yeah, I appreciate these kind of shows. These are fun to do. Talk shop with others in the. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ben.
Great story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, thanks everyone for joining us today. We'll see you on the next show very soon. Take care. Thank you for listening to the Mums on Cloud 9 podcast today. We're delighted to have you here, and we can't wait to help you have a career in life that you love. We launched the podcast because we wanted to help women get insight into inspirational stories, advice, and experts from people around the world. Over the last few years, we've spoken to many people who've shared insights, and we want you to learn and to benefit from this to accelerate your own career. Please do share the podcast show and what we do at Supermums with anybody else you know who you feel could benefit too. We want to say thank you once again for joining us, and please do let us know how you get on and what you go on to achieve after listening to the show today.